I keep accidentally closing the window. But one time I was at a hotel and I paid for a late checkout. And for some reason, the hotel, they knocked on my door at 11 anyway. And was very dismissive about it and almost argued with me until I showed them my receipt. And so I asked Google AI about it, and I said, why would a hotel do that? And Google AI said that a lot of those fees could be scams. They just want to collect the money and hope that you'll check out on time anyway and all that. And I said, well, could that be a liability issue? What if somebody pounds on the door at 11 and you're startled to the point that you spill hot coffee all over yourself? And then I escalated it. I said, what are some extreme cases of extreme liability that could happen if the door gets pounded at the wrong time and somebody gets startled? And Google went on to talk about somebody could have a trip and fall in there, or they could be in a work from home situation and the client hears about an emergency and as a result $1 million deal is lost. This is something that you would expect somebody with huge creativity to come up with, right? Not a Google AI. Now I've been so addicted to that. I need to stop. It's become almost like video game addiction for me. And I spend way too much time playing with that. But you know what? I also gain a lot of insight from things I never thought about. Earlier today, I learned about the concept of dark design, if you could believe it, where user faces are intentionally designed to be difficult to use and to be manipulative. And I've been spending a lot of time going into these deep dives, especially now that we're getting close to the holidays and schedules are a lot looser. So, maybe I'm learning new things. But it made me wonder, well, why can't Google AI drive me to Yosemite? I love the sightseeing and all. I hate the fact that I get there with no energy. What I especially hate is when I end up falling asleep in an unfamiliar town. One piece of good news I got is that when I asked Google AI about the encounter I had with the police that time, Google AI reassured me that it was no big deal. What had happened was I stopped in a small town and I got some sleep, and a police officer woke me up just before midnight and said, "Sir, have you had anything to drink?" Now it's April, hot weather, desert environment. In my half asleep mind, thought to myself, oh, this officer's concerned about hydration, because after all, that's a big concern in that part of this was in Texas, but the desert environment, it might have been 80, 90 degrees overnight. And I had a 2-liter bottle of tea right next to it, and I pointed to that, oh, don't worry. And the officer was really confused for 5, 10 seconds. It took him a few moments, and by the time he figured it out, I figured out what happened, and I was so embarrassed about it. And it just caused the encounter to be really heightened, much more so than it had to be. And I'm so upset about that because I felt like my situation was out of control. Had there been two of us driving, that situation would have never happened. It's just a moment where you feel like things are out of control, right? It's not necessarily the officer's fault. It may not have been my fault, but it just gives you the sense that the ship is kind of swaying in the sea in the wrong direction, right? It gets a sense of that, right? And I hate that. I hate that. But at the same time, I really love my networking. I wouldn't give up the other day when I had to break up that fight with the students for anything, even a good trip to Yosemite, right? I wouldn't give up the colleague that I have, even for a trip to Yosemite, right? But unfortunately, you never know when those networking opportunities come, right? But I got a couple important art projects coming up, and I hate to give that up to. Taylor Swift turns 36 years old soon, and I hope to build a Lego model of her penthouse in New York. And then there's Eve Curry's birthday, which is December 6th. I hope she turns 121 years old. I hope to build a model of what the crystal structure of polonium would look like. And then obviously we got the holidays coming up. I hope to build another Christmas themed build because that one got so much attention last time. And then there's what else I wanted to build? I know there were a few other mathematical things. Uh, oh, Juno's mission at Jupiter is coming to a close. I'm thinking about building a three-dimensional globe of Jupiter, and a few other things. I want you to pray that that goes right. Continue praying for my financial investments. You guys know what I own: mining stocks, 27 different elements on the periodic table, stocks from 180 some countries at last count, if I remember correctly, and some rare books, some antiques. Pray that all that goes, all that except for the few metals that I want to do my art to, right, go up. Because, like I said, I really love it when I get to play a low stakes game with my work, right? So the other day I had to break up a fight, and I was very calm. In the past, things like that would have unnerved me and made me make rash, bad decisions with how I communicated with the parents. No more. I'm a human being in front of them now. It's no different than if I saw a fight break out here at the Whole Foods cafeteria, right? I would discourage it, but I wouldn't have a stake in it anymore, right? And I really love that feeling. There's no better feeling than that. And ditto with it just feels like life has slowed down. When my boss was talking to me the other day about strategizing with the parents, I felt like I was talking to. It felt like we were planning Thanksgiving dinner. It didn't feel like a high stakes issue anymore. It really did. It really felt like more like we were. For example, you ever play a low stakes game? You're not gambling anymore. You're just playing a friendly game of Monopoly with your family members on Thanksgiving, and maybe your niece, who's 3, 4 years old, decides to cheat. You'll still laugh and have a good time, right? It feels like that. It really does. It really does. That's the best analogy. I've turned what was a high stakes poker game into Monopoly with my family members, and I can laugh about it. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.